This is something definitely at Ankle that we are currently looking at different option of sourcing those kind of equipment. So as soon as we
So just before we get started, I want to just talk about a few housekeeping rules because we're a group of over 15 right now. I'll get everybody to turn off the microphones so that we can hear each other. And whenever you guys have any questions or feedback, just lift up your hands, okay? I have about 15 slides. They're going to go pretty quickly. And each slide, I would like to get some feedback from you guys. And the purpose of this meeting today is just to have discussions and feedback from all you guys, okay? So why don't we just go quickly and everybody can maybe introduce themselves. Let me know where you're from, just salon name and how many employees you got.
Hey, Fred from Giovanni Perry Berry. We have 3 salons, 22 employees.
You're from where? Where's your salon located?
Barrie, Ontario.
Here, okay.
North of Toronto.
Okay. Carlos, you want to give a little intro?
Hello, everybody. Obviously, my name is Carlo. I'm from Fate Hair Salon in Burlington, Ontario, and we have 16 employees.
Sheer bliss.
Hey, guys. It's Heidi here. And Lisa. And we are in Morden, Manitoba, which you probably never have heard of before. So it is 1.5 hours south. Oh, wait, that's a Manitoba thing to say. How many kilometers?
120
kilometers south of Winnipeg. And we have 21 employees.
Yves, your turn.
Yes, well, hi, everybody. My name is Yves Briand. I'm from Gatineau, Quebec. Total of employee is 18 people, and been doing this for 45 years now.
Wonderful. Awesome. Lita, you want to go ahead?
So my name is Lita, and actually I am in New York City. I have about 13 employees, full-time and part-time. And my sister works for doctors.
Awesome. All right. Who's next? Let's see here, the list. Colleen?
Hi.
Hi. Just a little quick introduction of yourself and where you're from.
I'm Colleen Cito from Salon and Spa Rocks out in Sherwood Park, Alberta.
Awesome. And how many employees do you have right now?
44, just none of them working.
Yeah, perfect. All right, let's move on to Yannick.
Yes, I am Yannick Frappier from Coiffure Robert in Montreal. We have 4 salons and we have around 35 employees.
Let's move on to who else is here? Wendy. Are you around, Wendy?
Hey, John, I'm here. Sorry, it's Wendy from the Hair Lounge.
Oh, there you go. Okay, perfect.
And we have 15 employees.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. All right. So why am I doing this today? Obviously, we are a group that's Michelle and I joined this group back in 2015, 2016. And the reason why we do this is to be able to work and collaborate with you guys and exchange ideas. As business owners, as you guys know, it's tough to operate on your own. But if you can have support from your colleagues and your salon friends, I think it makes things a lot easier to navigate. And okay, so I'm going to share my screen right now so you guys can see what I've been working on. All right, so before we begin, just want to give you guys a few disclaimers. So first of all, like I said, the purpose of this meeting today is just to have a roundtable discussion and exchange ideas and solutions amongst the group. It is not meant to be a political discussion or should we talk about any type of conspiracy theories. But I do recommend after going through these slides, do talk to your professional consultants, accountants, human resource people, and agencies, okay? I did this because our company, we are actually trying to plan for this pandemic and trying to plan for the recalling of our employees. So I'm putting together, like I have on my screen, a mini handbook, a mini playbook, essentially, to kind of prepare my team. I do also have to mention that some of the information that I have here are coming from some of these companies. So Board of Innovation and Bain & Company, they're essentially consultants. They're not my consultants, but I do have access to their resources. I'm part of a peer group called Tech Canada. And it's essentially a peer group that I joined last fall. And I'm surrounded with other business owners like yourselves, but they come from various industries. And for me to be surrounded with people with various backgrounds and whatnot provides me with a lot of knowledge on how to navigate my own business as well. So it's been very, very helpful. Peninsula is my virtual human resource department. So essentially I pay a monthly fee, and any type of labor laws or any type of employment or policy or procedures, they help me with that as well. And for those who don't know, Canadian Federation's Independent Business is an association for small business. And they really advocate and voice the collective voices for groups like ourselves. So for those who don't know who we are, Michelle and I, we started a company in 2011, Hair Public Salon. We only started with 6 chairs, and we have about 8 or 10 employees at the time. Then you fast forward to 2015, we expanded into the spa service. We also bought our building at the same time. And then last year, we opened our second locations, and now we have about 40 employees. And 2020, we had a lot of aspirations on growing the business even further. But as you guys know, things are being put on hold. For the immediate things that we're going to be working on is the online store and the private labeling. Everything else is going to be postponed indefinitely, unfortunately. All right. So whenever you see this logo over here, that means that it's coming from sources from the company, from my consulting company. Otherwise, everything else is done by us. So overall view. COVID-19 is unlike any previous crisis. Traditional crisis response approaches will not be sufficient. The process of containment and slowing the spread that is phasing in country by country will create major disruption in itself, irrespective of seriousness of the virus spread itself. Prepare for the worst and be thankful it won't eventuate. Wait and see approach is the non-starter. High likelihood of a substantial revenue disruption leading to a potential liquidity crisis for many. The recovery may not be a quick bounce and plan for multiple quarters of lower revenues. Employees, customers, likely experiencing fear and panic. You will need to appoint a senior, fully dedicated COVID-19 war room team focused on this all day, every day. So essentially that would be you, the owners. As CEO, it is critical for you to be out in front with a planned cascade of possible actions based on which scenarios unfold, likely more aggressive than your team can imagine right now. Customer changes behaviors is non-reversible ways. Accelerating prior trends, bold actions now can set up for success through the downturn and beyond. I'll talk a little about the restructuring opportunities. So because we're going to be, I'm not sure right now, we don't even know when we're going to be reopening, but I know that Saskatchewan is looking to phase salons mid-May. So we're anticipating probably mid-June, maybe late June. But right now, it's probably the best time for you guys and for ourselves to look at restructuring your company. Things like pay structures. For me and my company, we do have a series of, well, most of our employees are full-time employees. We don't have any contractors, but I do understand that there's a lot of salons that operate that way. But you may want to potentially rethink that. If you have more employees, you might want to potentially convert them into contractor status. And there's various reasons why you want to do that. And essentially, as an employee, you are subject to vacation pay, statutory holiday pays, and CPP and EI and employment health tax. So there's a lot of costs associated with that. Employee profitability. I'm not sure if everybody does this, but every service provider that you have employed in your company, you should really look at how they perform from a like a P&L type of stress test. So you take their essential gross revenues and you divide it by their by how much you pay them, and they should never be more than 45 to 50%. So I'm not sure if you guys are using any type of benchmark right now, but this is where you should really calculate each of your service providers' profitability. We can get into that a little bit later on. Do consider a price increase. If you haven't increased your service costs in the last 3 to 5 years, I would definitely recommend at least a 5 or 10% cost increase. And again, I'm not sure if this is an option for you guys, but if you guys can negotiate your rent leases, you could essentially potentially ask them to potentially lower your base rent and maybe do a profit sharing if that's even an option for you guys. Alternatively, if you guys are up for renewal, this might be a good time to ask them to, maybe ask for a rent decrease or even maybe just halt any increases. Because as you guys know, we do have a bit of leverage. I don't think there's going to be any business that going to be looking for spaces right now. Any questions? No? All right. So does everybody here check or measure their employee profitabilities on an individual basis? No? Okay. I would definitely recommend you do that. It's a very simple exercise, and we can talk about this offline if you want, but essentially it really lets you know how well you perform and how well they perform, and you can essentially track their growth and how if they're growing year to year or month to month. All right, I'm going to move on here. Okay, I'm just going to go quickly some of these benchmarks that are applicable to my company. These obviously may be different for your company, but if you do have different levels of service providers, break it down. And then also make sure that you know, based on the categories, based on the levels, track how much each individual brings per year. So essentially new talent, we do measure their productivity. So this is how busy they are on a daily basis. And we do an average, right? So if somebody is busy 75% of the time, that means that they only have, 6 hours out of 8 hours booked. And as you essentially move towards the rank here, you can see that revenues are essentially more than the lower levels, but it gives you a sense to where everybody should fit in their categories. Okay, so this is just an example of what we do. You guys' numbers may be a lot different, but I definitely recommend you guys use some type of KPIs to measure your service providers. All right, so recalling strategy. So I mentioned this earlier. This is actually a pretty important thing to consider. I don't know about you guys, but we, commission employees are obviously individuals that will cover their own labor expenses. So you probably want to consider them as first wave of rehires, especially if they have a track record and they have a long or a big client base. They're essentially the first people you may want to recall right away. Your support employees, obviously, I mean, that's every situation will be different, but you may not be able to hire them right away. But that's okay though. If you can't afford them right away, you might just want to consider having your commission stylists, help around with, shampoos and, sweeping hair, whatever it takes. And I would suspect that the first month or so, you guys are not going to be operating at full capacity, maybe 75% or maybe a little bit less. So reconsider your support staff as maybe the second wave, but they can still sustain themselves financially because they will be tapped into their EIs or SERP. And again, it's all depending on how long this shutdown is extended, right? Now, some of them might tell you, you know what, I don't want to come back. I mean, this is something that's going to be ongoing, but the best thing you can do is obviously approach them and talk to them and see. I would obviously try to reach out to them individually if they have fears of returning, because the last thing is you want is a group, having everybody think the same way and group think. And then, and then you're not going to have anybody wanting to come to work on the first day that you open your doors. I mean, your culture may be different. Everybody's culture has their own ways of doing things. So, but obviously, your team better. So I would just speak to one-on-one at least. Salary stylists or salary employees, again, if their productivity rate is high, like I mentioned earlier, and they have, profitability of at least below 45 or even 50%, they could be part of your first wave as well. But we do have some employees after they work for us for 1 year, maybe they're new talents or intermediates, and they only bringing, maybe the split is 70-30%, where their income takes into account about 70% of their gross revenues. So essentially, you're not essentially in any type of profitability position. So you may want to consider them as maybe the second wave of hires. But for the most part, if your salaried employees are stable, definitely consider them coming back. I think that salaried employees too, they may be okay to work, less hours as well. And depending on what the government orders, you may have to even work at a even minimum capacity. Right now, we don't have any information, but something to consider. So you guys are probably laid off everybody by now, and I hope you guys put together formal letters. But essentially, by law, you can only lay off somebody temporarily for up to 13 weeks. So that's about just a little bit over 3 months, I would say. And let's say worst case scenario, you are open after 2.5 months, but you can afford to rehire some of these individuals. You technically will have to either extend the temporary layoff to 35 weeks, but then you're going to have to keep giving them some type of compensation or some type of benefits. Otherwise, it'll lead to a termination without cause. Now, I'm no expert in labor laws, but termination without cause, you have to be careful because you're going to be subject to termination pay. So termination pay, and depending on the length of their employment, there will be, because you're essentially not recalling them, and they never got the proper notice to be terminated. they may be subject to 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and depending on the length of their employment, it could be a lot higher. So definitely contact your human resource contact on that. But if you can avoid termination without cause, that's probably the best thing. I think you could probably get away with, if you recall them the first day that you reopen and they're willing to work, you say, listen, I can't really afford you right now. We're at 50% capacity, but I will hire you on day one, but then I'll give you your 2-week notice then. I think that's something that I would do, but I would probably recommend you guys speak to one of your HR contacts. Any questions, guys? What do you think about that?
Yeah, John, that was great. Food for thought, all that. Hey, that letter, I used that letter that you had drawn up about the layoff. I thought that was great, the way you got that set up. And today, I don't know if you watched Mr. Trudeau, but he's coming in with that rent subsidy type thing. So it's basically for our commercial landlords to look into, but basically we're going to be paying 25% of our rent. That was a pretty cool thing. It's not going to be ready till mid-May, but
yeah, at least it's something.
I thought that was pretty, I think they've been doing a pretty good job for us.
Yeah. I think it's good. I think they're putting the onus on the landlord, right? So then the landlord has to agree to transfer the savings on to the tenant. So depending on your relationship, I think it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. Yeah. If the landlord doesn't transfer, my understanding is that if the landlord transfers the savings onto the tenants, then that grant doesn't get converted. It gets converted into a loan or something like that. So I think it's in their best interest to essentially transfer the savings. But I see it both sides because I'm also a landlord, but the landlord will be expected to at least shell out 25% of the rent. But hey, if you can get 75% rent, it's better than nothing, right?
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Especially, they're already staying till, April, May, June. So listen, behind the cards, I think it's going to be going on, like you said, June, July for sure. I think they're just giving an off sell, just increasing the time. Because if you look at Asia and Europe, they were 1 month, 2 months behind this, and they're just starting a little bit to open up. So yeah, and I think our government's being a little bit more careful, a little bit more conservative, even though I think they jumped on things faster than most places. I still agree with you.
I know the government is acting really fast right now, especially with all these other programs like the CERB and the wage subsidy and CEBA and everything. They do expect, and there are already people like taking advantage of some of these programs. And I know that they don't have the resource to police everybody, but they do expect some type of collateral damage from this, right? So, but the main goal was to roll out these programs and money as fast as we can to avoid, other type of crisis, right? Okay, so employee communications. I think this is going to be important for your team to really understand the impact of the company. But you have to realize too that some of these individuals were probably, subject to some type of mental health. So they may want, you as the owner and potentially somebody else in your leadership team to reach out to them and maybe speak to them, right? They may not be ready to come back to work. That's something you have to make sure that you are transparent about. And again, they may have a fear of returning, but you can combat that by telling them exactly what you're going to be doing with your new protocols, right? Which we'll get to in a second. But essentially, any new protocols and processes you're going to have in place for your salon, let your staff know about this. So they're not only your clients are going to be confident about this, but also your staff as well. I read somewhere that some people will actually refuse to work because they're tapping into this CERB program and they're essentially getting $2,000 a month. And if the employee was making less than 35 grand, right? If you're making less than 35 grand, the $2K a month is equal to your salary or even more. So they might use some type of excuse and say, I don't feel well, I'm sick, I'm afraid of this and that. So you got to be careful because there's a bit of a gray area. And I think what I suggest you guys do is have a internal discussion and have an internal investigation about this. And if you guys question their motive, then obviously you can call your provincial agencies or ministries. So the Ministry of Labor would definitely be able to help with that front. We don't like to think like this of our employees, but the bigger their team is, sometimes you have some bad apples. Just like we're doing today, virtual meetings is very essential. Have them, on a bi-weekly basis. It doesn't have to be a big group. You can reach out to a small group And you'll be amazed as how much difference you can get, how much it'll boost the morale. And it'll actually even probably build your company culture even more. Sorry, you were saying something, Fred, or?
My wife just texted me when I went off there a sec that Doug Ford is starting in Ontario next week, and next week he's going to give guidelines of he's going to slowly start opening.
Oh, is that right? Just now?
Yeah, just now.
Okay.
She just texted me.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
I'm finding that surprising, but I think we're going to be one of the last ones on the list, though.
Ontario? Yeah.
No. Our profession.
Oh, the profession. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. Well, Saskatchewan is putting, services like ourselves as a part of the second phase. So I wouldn't be surprised if we'd be in the same boat.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Lita.
Yeah, well, actually, in Atlanta, Georgia, they just opened today. So a lot of salon owners did not participate to open. But the way I plan it is, I know my staff are collecting $1,000 a week from the government. And I think that's going to go on till July, which some are not going to be able to come. Some asked if I will willing to pay them under the table and still collect unemployment, which I can't do that, unfortunately.
Yeah. I know. I heard about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I am planning to, if whoever wants to come in, I actually start taking appointments. We're staying home until May 15th. So I already booked clients May 16th. If we open, I have 11 chairs. So I'm only having 5 people at the same time. So
okay, that's good.
So that way they are 6 feet apart.
Yeah, that's good.
Clients are very desperate. So clients been calling and they want to come in. There's clients who won't be able to come. There's clients who left the city. But I think even though if we get the money that the government is going to give us, it's not really going to help with the revenue. It's still all that money. It's going to be, it's going to be gone through to rent. Now my building, it's a co-op. They're not going to give me free.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think each country or each state or provinces, we're going to be, keeping a close eye on how they're doing and tracking the consumer behavior, so that we can prepare as well, right? So if Georgia is opening already, then it's good to see that this is, this is the way it's going.
And their protocols were just, regular 6 feet apart, mask, all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the supermarkets here, they're not keeping 6 feet apart. You go in, it's like so crowded, they're only having a line outside. Yeah. So, and then when you go inside, you're passing 25 people on the same time on an aisle. So it's not really helping.
Yeah, so Heather in Saskatoon has reopened dates of May 18th. That's right. Okay, so that's next month, essentially, almost. All right, so going digital. All of you guys, I don't need to let you guys know about this, but shift your marketing complete to online. I think more than ever, everybody, your clients, your followers are looking to connect with you guys, connect with our brands, and it's a great time to humanize your brand too, right? So, and they want to, and they obviously they want to support local businesses. So this is a great time to keep them up to date with any news. So if you are reopening, let them know, obviously weeks in advance. If you work with any type of brand ambassador, this is probably the best time for them to reach out to you, to reach out to them as well. Promote your salon culture, hair tutorials, retail sales. And I think most importantly is to promote your new sanitation protocols. I think this is probably the best way to gain new clients if you are going to be one of the first salons to reopen. People are going to be keeping a close eye on how salons are going to be dealing with the new protocols. For those who want to push it to the next level and go even further into retail and selling products into retail, this is also a great time to utilize this downtime to set up an online store for your products. I know that Carlos set up his website a couple of weeks ago, which is great. Shopify is a very streamlined platform that allows, non-web developers to really just put something up really quickly. I think, Carlos, did you find any issues at all at the beginning, or did you?
I think the biggest issue is the amount of time that you have to put into it. If you're not tech savvy, you're going to have some issues with it. The only problem is having to input all of your products, catalog them, pictures, but the resources are out there. You've got to contact your like Schwarzkopf, for example. If you have their products, you have to contact them, and they'll give you the e-files, commerce files. It makes it a lot easier. And you're going to need someone who can work on your back end. I know it sounds funny, but you need someone to work on your website to integrate both of them together. But all we have right now is time. So, and we've used that time that we've had to build a store.
Yeah, and you reached out to Tom, right? And they got all the.
I've reached out to anyone I could, and of all the products, because we don't carry just Schwarzkopf. We carry other product lines. But Tom was great. Schwarzkopf was great. Anything I need, they have. All you have to do is ask for the e-commerce files, and those are so important, guys. I can't tell you how much time that'll streamline off the process. Yeah. If you don't have it, you're going to be looking and searching the internet for these files.
Carlo,
that will take weeks.
Carlo, did they give you descriptions as well?
Absolutely. If you go to my shop store, my online store, you're going to see the descriptions. All of them from ecom files. You'll notice on any site that you go on the internet, they're using the same ecom files.
This is Anne from Schwarzkopf. Wendy, actually, it's a Dropbox link that we could send you. And in there, you will find everything that you need, like such as the product imagery, product description. All you need to do is to reach out to your sales manager and they will be able to send you the link. And you just need to let us know what brand are you looking. So let's say, for instance, you want your BC, your Osis. If you carry Alterna, we can send you that as well.
Great, thank you.
This is Colleen from Salon and Spa Rocks. So we actually did online, but we have a web app that's the avenue we ended up going, because we actually tried doing it through Amazon and we got declined because they were saying there was a surplus of, we tried it with Osis and they were like, there's a surplus of that on here. So you can't go on, which was unfortunate. We never explored Shopify. We did it through our own website now, but just as for people to know.
That's good to know. Thanks. And it's probably worth noting too that speak to your distributors about this, because some distributors don't allow you to sell products online. So just want to give you guys a little disclaimer there.
And she says that she works for Schwarzkopf.
Yeah, Anne is from Schwarzkopf. Yeah.
So because I've been looking to care. I mean, I get it from Paramount, but unfortunately, there's no Schwarzkopf in New York. I'm assuming, because I've been trying to reach, and they said that I have to get it through, because I want to carry the whole line. So I've been getting it through Paramount, but I can't get everything through them. Is that true, Anne? Or
okay, so you're based in the U.S., right?
I'm in New York. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know who would be the distributor because I work for the Canadian division. But that's something I can look into it. So if you want, I'll just leave my email address in the comment box. Just send me an email and I could look that for you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I tried and they said I have to go through Paramount or Cosmoprof, which I do Paramount. So I'll just send you my email, and then if you can look into it, it'd be great.
Sure.
How many of you guys are considering having an online platform? If not many, I would definitely consider at least shifting a few services. You don't have to have a full line, but I mean, just things like gift cards and, some of your top selling items. I think you'll be surprised as to how many people will definitely consider buying products from you, even though they're going to come pick it up from your store or whatnot. They may want to just like streamline the whole process, come in, come out, or without having too much contact there. So consider that.
What I did with my store is that I called my distributor and got all the imagery from her for a bunch of different lines. So I have my 2 in-house lines, but then I'm also creating an inventory-free line that I can have delivered to me within 2 days. I know that some in Ontario that your distributors are closed, but when they reopen and the world kind of reopens, it might be a good idea to carry lines on your store and not have to carry that inventory.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one.
I agree 100%. That's something we're going to be doing very, very soon, is carrying other product lines that necessarily we don't have in our store. Yep.
Get creative, guys. This is the best time to do it.
So something that came to our attention was, so we were right in the middle of setting up our online, and we've done it now, and it's been awesome. So anyone who's thinking about it, as time consuming as it is, the support that we've seen from our community has been incredible. But there's the other side that we've heard, that because the government has mandated that we shut, technically we're still open then if we're selling retail. So has anyone heard this, or are we going to there's potential of us getting fined? And ultimately we still have some bills to pay. We have shelves filled with product, and we're kind of torn on which way to go. Not completely torn because we're still selling, obviously, but have you heard about this?
Colleen, I talked to my accountant about this, and because Wendy Bates is separate from the Hair Lounge as a company is still allowed to make money, but Wendy Bates isn't. That's how you get around it.
So because it's Rock selling the product, we're
But
okay.
it's fine. Yeah.
But hasn't the government mandated that salons shut?
Well, but that doesn't mean that your company can't still try to create some revenue to keep it going in these hard times. Your store's not open for people to come in, but if you're doing curbside or home delivery, then your store is physically closed, but your company isn't physically closed.
Okay, I just heard it was just because of there's a revenue stream now of money coming in, and we're supposed to be closed, and because it never dictated that it was service that was just closed, just the salon is supposed to be closed.
Yeah, maybe ask your accountant. I'm not sure.
Okay.
You know, like
I just didn't know if anyone else had heard it. We're selling, like they're gonna find me, but I just didn't know if anybody had heard.
I would say my argument would be, this is not the service side of the business. This is the retail side of the business. And I would say, if I were to be challenged, I would say this is not part of my service side of the business. And I think it should be fine. I mean, there's a lot of things like, even if you're doing deliveries, technically you're supposed to have, commercial insurance for your car, but, I mean, it's not something that you're doing on a regular basis. I think can be overlooked, but yeah. Yeah, and just to finish off on the digital side of things, Carlos, you might be interested in knowing that eventually once your site gets bigger, they will roll out a fulfillment center just like Amazon. So you won't even have to think about having a packaging and shipping department.
No,
just
and
pay one fee and go.
That's the ultimate goal here, is to actually be able just to ship it from my salon to anywhere in Canada. The software is available on Shopify that once you're inputting your data, you have to input the weight of the product, and it'll give you the shipping options that you don't pay, that the consumer pays. And that is the goal here, is to make money on different avenues that we haven't tapped into already, right?
Yeah, exactly. Have so you guys will do any deliveries? You guys strictly do in-store pickups, right?
Right now we're doing in-store pickups. So we're going to check out the data that we get for the first week. And then I'd like to do delivery in our area, because obviously we're not doing anything right now. And it doesn't take long to fill the orders. So next week we'll probably offer a delivery option to our clients, and then we'll see how if the numbers pick up, and we can actually see if that's making a difference in selling. Like, we've been operational now for less than 24 hours, and we've done $1,000 in business. So, and we went operational last night around 5 o'clock. So this is $1,000 that I wouldn't have done if I wasn't doing this.
Exactly. Yeah, we rolled out our platform a week later that we shut down. We shut down on March the 15th. A week later, my support team was able to put a whole bunch of images onto our site. And we started promoting online on our Instagram and Facebook. And after 5 or 6 weeks, we made probably about $5,000 or $6,000, which I think is okay. But we're not doing any in store just because we're not equipped for that yet. So what we do is, actually, Michelle and I, we just do the deliveries ourselves. I'm the driver, and some days we'll have 6 deliveries, some days we only have 2. But we try to wait. We try to do 1 or 2 deliveries per week and try to wait until we accumulate. I don't mind doing the deliveries right now, because being isolated at home for the last 6 weeks, it's nice to get out of the house, and also allows my kids to just sleep in the car. So, but it's definitely not a scalable solution. And once we tap into the wage subsidy, we'll have a better procedure for that. But right now it's manageable. So, all right, let's move on. So we're almost halfway here, guys. So new norms. As you guys know, we are going to be entering what we call a low touch economy, and it'll probably be here for a while. And you might not see it right away, but people are going to start to, to expect businesses to have different procedures and protocols. Just think of yourselves too. If you're going to a certain place and they don't have any type of protocols, you might be surprised. You might be hesitant on going. But because we're in the business of service, I think there's going to be high expectations. So I put a few things here that might be considered. So people who are 65-year-old and vulnerable clients, I think it's worthwhile to consider them going through like a type of questionnaire, what type of illnesses they have, if they show any type of symptoms. You might want to invest in some type of touchless thermometers, and definitely go through a robust screening process. Again, I can't stress enough that service distancing, like Lita said, state salons are going to have to stagger their stations at the beginning. When I say beginning, I would say the first 2 to 4 weeks of operations, people are going to want to expect that type of procedure in place. We're considering wall dividers between stations as well that are plexiglass. We're definitely going to put some type of barrier at our front desk so that our front desks are not because they're going to be dealing with a lot of people, that they're not they don't get sick from working with us. If you guys have staff lounge, definitely minimize access to that for now. I would definitely recommend having less congregation of employees at the same time. Staff have to take lunches elsewhere. And since we're going to be entering our summer month, what better way of having lunch outside, right? So visitor protocols, if you're having your suppliers or whoever it is come by to visit you guys, make sure that they go through some type of check. I'm not sure if this is an option at your place, but paying clients checking out at your stations could be an option if you have the capabilities of having an iPad as a means of checking out a client. But it'll definitely not only improve your flow, but also give less contact with the front. And again, more color. So new color processing area. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but our space, when it gets busy, the color processing area gets pretty tight. So, unfortunately, people talk and they cough and all that stuff. You're going to have to potentially reconsider how you lay out your color processing area. Temporary hours. I think, again, for the first 2 to 4 weeks, you might consider wanting to shorten your hours. If you're operating 10-hour days or 12-hour days, you may want to shorten up to only 8-hour days. And it really depends on your area and your business. You know your business more than anybody else, but do expect some flexibility there. I was talking to somebody about potentially even splitting the day into 2 shifts. So now this may not work for everybody, but if you're operating, let's say, if you can operate, 12-hour days, you can have half of your staff come in the first 6 hours and then the other half come in the other 6 hours, right? You can't do 12 hours or you want to do only 10 hours. Obviously, the split is even, the hours are even less, but just some ideas there for you guys. And sanitation protocols. I mean, this is some of the obvious things. Face mask, shields, face shields. I saw somewhere that people are wrapping their tools in front of their clients and unwrapping them so that they show that this has been cleaned, fully cleaned. That could be a good way to boost confidence. Buy a whole bunch of hand sanitizers, put them at every station. That's a no-brainer. I would definitely invest in that if you have a local supplier there. And have a daily checklist for cleaning. So your support staff, if you are going to be, rehire them on your first wave, make sure that they're on top of everything. The last thing is you want is somebody contracting, COVID and then blaming the salon for this and that. So you might want to just tread carefully there. And yeah, add signage in front of your front door, add signage in front of your washrooms, everywhere, saying that we have everything covered. And the more transparent you are, and the more you promote yourself as a safe place to get your services done, you're going to get more clients for sure. All right, stabilize salon operations. So this is more like, medium to worst case scenario. And again, this is based on a lot of assumptions. Secure supplies for your highest risk items. Or in our case, I was talking to our supplier, Venus, and they obviously have enough inventory to service all of their clients for 3 or 4 months. But if you have, and maybe Anne, you can shed some light on this, but if you have manufacturing plants that are shutting down and can't get the right pigment for a certain color, you might have a shortage of that particular shade. So that's something that you might want to speak to your distributors and manufacturers.
One thing I can say for sure is we are in the same situation as you guys. That means that we did slow the business, definitely. And the way we work internally is that whenever we're planning quantities, we do it ahead of time. So one thing, if I can reassure you guys, there's no way whatsoever that currently we are planning to be backordered. Again, if I can reassure you, we have plenty of stock to supply everybody.
That's good to hear. Thank you, Anne. I mentioned earlier too, employees' schedule will be definitely disrupted as well. So definitely contact and communicate with your staff about that. Reduce store hours again, and merge stores if you really have to. I mean, again, this is medium to worst case scenarios. When we, before this pandemic forced us to shut down, we actually closed one of our stores for the week and just merge all of our clients into our flagship store. So just because the demand had diminished greatly, at one of our stores. So that may be the case for us. When we reopen, we might unwind it, where we might start with just one store and then reopen the other store at a later week or a later date. But worst case scenario, if you have to shut down one location, obviously shut the one that's less profitable and move all your staff and communicate with your clients to work at your other store. Worst case scenario. For those who don't know about employment grants, I know that in Ontario, and I've tapped into this a lot in the last couple of years, Canadian Ontario Job Grant provides training, and they'll subsidize up to 2/3 of the cost. So there's a lot of ways you can save on and training. So this could be technical training. So any training that could be related to hair, you could tap into that. You would essentially pay your consultant, and then you get reimbursed by the government 2/3. The Youth Job Connections, we did that last year, and we tapped the heck out of it. Essentially, in Ontario, if you hire any individuals between the age of 19 and 29, and they've never worked at if they're new anyways in the salon business, whether it's front desk or a salon assistant, or even as a new talent stylist, let's say somebody graduated from a hair school and they want to work at your place, the government will pay, as long as they work for up to 3 months of continuous employment, they'll pay you up to $5,000. So as you can imagine, last year, because we opened our first or second location, we hired a whole bunch of people, and our company was growing. So we must have hired at least 10 new people, right? So obviously the math, 10 times $5,000, that's $50,000 that we made just from hiring people, right? So that definitely helps with cash flow. And I would say more than ever this year to tap into that, especially if you have people that are going to quit on you or won't want to return, and you're looking to hire new people. You should definitely consider these programs. And obviously, I don't know about other provincial grants, but I know for Ontario's and for all salon from Ontario, if you guys want more information, I'm definitely share you guys some contacts on that by email. And keep your expenses low. I think right now, if you can find ways to leverage, negotiate with your anybody, right? Your utility, like your telephone bills, your internet bill. I know that our booking platform is called Booker, and because we have 2 locations, we spend maybe $300 or $400 a month. I can't remember, but we asked them to give us some savings. It wasn't that much, but it was enough to make us happy. And all they wanted was an extension of the contract agreement by a year. So utilize extension of contract agreements to gain savings and save on monthly cash flows. Any questions so far? Let me see if there's any messages here. Dermalogica does not allow sales over our website. Yeah, so Dermalogica, so there you go. That's a good point there. Okay, this long-term strategy, this is, I would say, worst case scenario. If you can, even now, if you can, should definitely consider securing additional credit. This could be a credit from your vendors, distributors. It could be additional credit from your banks or private loans, whatever you got to do to have some cash, set aside. Doesn't mean that you're going to use it, but at least tap into some type of line of credits. Definitely recommend that. Flexible terms with the distributors. I'm not sure each company has different terms with their distributors based on, various factors. It could be, length of time doing business or whatever. But if you can do, 60, 90 days, or maybe worst case, 120 days, speak to your suppliers about that. Obviously, if you have any major projects, definitely want to consider delaying those projects. So if you're looking to, buy a new business or expand to a new location, I would say wait it out for now. I'll talk about opportunities for growth later on. But essentially, when I say for 2020, I would say definitely put any of these type of projects on hold. We're going to be doing the same thing too. This is something that we kind of have a problem at our own operation, where we carry too much inventory in our store. The value is north of $80,000 for one location. That's ridiculous, right? So and that's obviously maybe just something that my managers has overlooked, but they're going to be mandated to slash that by half. I don't want to see $80,000 in one inventory room. So I want that down to maybe $40,000 or even $50,000, at least to last us maybe 3 or 4 months worth of inventory. But liquidate excess inventory. That could be, having aggressive promotions that I mentioned earlier, sell products online, do what you got to do to get rid of that. This is actually, so this is a slide from Board of Innovation, one of the consultants. They put together a little graph here on the consumer behavior after 2008. So as you guys know, the financial crisis occurred in the States with the mortgage. And for the first 12 months, essentially, it breaks down how many, which industries got affected the most. As you can see, things like food at home and mobile services and like where there's health and beauty products. Those are the least rate of decrease, but they were subject to a decrease of at least 25%, right? And some of the things that are essentially were contracted in terms of spendings is like things like going out to eat, buying consumer electronics, blah, 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 buying clothes. 50% saw a decrease of their sales there. So expect some type of impact in the salon business for sure. I know that everybody on social media is talking about, man, I can't wait to see my stylist. You know, it's been 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or whatever it is. Can you guys, ship us, color kits and whatnot, or can you guys take clients at home, blah, blah, blah. They just can't wait. People are working from home and they still want to look good, right? So, but because we're going to be entering summer month, there's definitely been an influx and a surge of clients coming through the doors. Maybe not the same level, but coming to Q3 and Q4, you're going to notice a drastic decrease there. And I put something together quickly here. Again, these are assumptions, but I'm going by these type of assumptions myself. So like I said, summertime, that's essentially, mid-June. There'll definitely be, an upswing of demand for sure. As soon as you're reopening doors, it's almost like opening a floodgates. And because it's the immediate season when you reopen, you might see your sales decrease, you might not. And again, depending on the capacity that you operate, if you operate at 75% or even 85%, obviously your sales is going to reflect that as well, right? So I would say plan for a decrease for the summer month of at least 15%. Worst case, 25%. Consumer behaviors, like I said earlier, things are going to change. If you don't provide your clients with the right level of confidence, they're gonna want to seek elsewhere. So again, transparency and communicate with their clients is extremely important this time. Q3, so fall, again, demands might taper slightly as consumer confidence is increased. I would expect at least a 10 to 15% decrease. And as you roll into your winter month, I think your December 2020 sales may not be affected, but the rest of the winter month could be affected. Again, various factors, various assumptions. If we do have a second wave of infection, people can retract themselves on getting hair services, right? And then winter month are probably the worst to be out, getting your services done. A quick little thing that I put together. So as you guys know, I always focus on Ontario because this is where we reside, but Ontario is where you have the most concentrations of salons. So we occupy at least 36% of salons in Canada. And there's roughly, I would say, 40,000 salons in Canada right now. And that obviously goes up and down, right? But I spoke to our distributors who work closely with salon owners. They say that at least 1,200 salons, or between 15 to 25%, will close permanently. And that's just a fact. Salon business, as you guys know, is a very fragmented industry. So there's a lot of small players that can barely make it. And there's a lot of operators that they're already struggling to begin with, right? So not being able to generate any type of income for 3 months is just going to be a killer. So now, more than ever, I think salons, like what we're doing right now, we're banding together. I think this is probably the best time to collectively have a voice and reach out to each other and see how we can help each other. The unemployment rate will definitely be high. So prepare for your salons for hiring. If 25% salons are going to be closed, there's going to be a lot of unemployed hairstylists. Some might, stay home and do services at home, but some might look for employment elsewhere. So just be prepared to have your company weather this storm. And, as you guys weather the storm by the next 6 to 12 months, there's going to be an influx of individuals looking to work at your salon. Don't worry about stylists that are working, in-house in their homes. If they do that, the more power to them. There's nothing you can do anyways. But let the market dictate its demand. So that's my motto. I think there's enough market share for everybody to tap into. So I wouldn't be too worried. And obviously, if you're looking to expand in 2021, there's going to be plenty of salons that are looking for different operators. So if you manage your cash flow properly for the next 9 months, you should be able to have some discussions with potential, owners or operators that are looking to either partner with you or sell the business outright. Okay, so those are opportunities for mergers and acquisitions there. Okay, so I put together a quick summary of the government programs. You guys are probably well aware of this, but I'll just give you guys a quick little summary again. The wage subsidy. So for those who want to tap into that, it'll go live on Monday, April the 27th. And essentially, the government will subsidize up to 75% of your employee's salary. There is no covenants that says that you have to top the 25%. But if you can, they suggest that you do. Just be aware of this, guys, and I can give you guys a letter of recall, but essentially, if you're paying somebody a salary, but you can't pay the whole 100% and you only can do 75%, you have to put in the recall letter that I can't pay you this, but I can only pay you this. And you have to be in writing and they have to agree to that. So if you don't do that, then it's a breach of contract. So for those who are interested, I can give you guys a template that I'm using. And it was given me by Peninsula, our virtual human resource. Fred mentioned earlier, obviously this was announced today that commercial rent relief is coming. 75% of your rent will be covered for up to 3 months. It's expected for the landlord to cover at least 25% of it. And part of that agreement for the landlord is that they cannot evict the tenant. So there's definitely a lot of protections for tenants for this program. So I definitely applaud this news today. Those who don't have income, obviously, I would definitely suggest tapping into the $40,000 loan. As you guys know, if you guys repaid by, I don't have the details here, but if you repaid by 20, they'll give you 2 years. If you repay, 75% of that, they'll forgive 25%, which is 10 grand. So if you don't even need the money, just keep it in your bank and just repay that $30,000 and then you'll get $10,000, right? So we're going to be doing that, just keeping it in the bank, and we'll just use it for a rainy day, I guess. And because we have 2 locations, essentially a bankroll of $80,000, just easy loan. So, and CERB, so you guys know that's the $2,000 per month benefits. So even if you're an owner, whether you pay yourself as an employee or T4 or T5 dividends, you can tap into the CERB. Again, ask your accountant for more information about that because I'm not 100% sure about that. I also looked into, oh, by the way, did anybody have any issues with the $40,000 loan?
Nope.
No? It was easy,
Very easy. That's only for Canada.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Us as owners, we're entitled to that wage subsidy also, opposed to the CERB.
Yeah, exactly. So Michelle and I, we tapped into the CERB because we haven't been, generating income. So that is somewhat helpful to pay some of the business expenses that are still trailing. But you're right. As of Monday, we could rehire ourselves. I was never really an employee of the company. So I'm going to rehire myself. Oh, sorry, not rehire, but I'm going to hire myself as a new employee and then just tap into that, right? So obviously they only pay up to $847 per week. So that works out to be about 58 grand a year. So, I mean, it's better than nothing, but you're right.
Better than the CERB at $2,000 a month, right?
Yeah, for sure. Anything is better than, I mean, any additional funds is just greatly appreciated right now. So is there anybody that's not going to be tapping into the wage subsidy for themselves?
So if we want that wage subsidy and the salon's not open, can we still take it?
Yeah. So not that they encourage it, but you can actually hire your whole staff and they don't expect any productivity from your staff, right? So especially our non-essential business like ourselves, we can't even operate if we wanted to. But they just want to make sure that everybody is, the last thing the government wants right now is to have an unemployment rate of above 10, 15% once everything is back to normal. That's just because there's going to be a ripple effect, having people not be able to pay rent and all that stuff. So if they can just have, if employers can hire their employees back right now without having any productivity, once you reopen, they're essentially, employed, right? And that's what the government wants is to maintain that threshold of unemployment rate below 10%. So as an owner too, if you're an employee of the company, obviously you're working on your business all the time, but I wouldn't worry about, not being able to receive this subsidy because you're not working.
Here's the thing. You have to pay yourself first and then they reimburse you later. So you're gonna have to, from what I'm understanding. So whatever you've paid yourself from March 18th on, not that you're gonna get 5% of that, you're gonna get up to $847 or 75%. Okay, but you have to pay yourself first, and then they give you the money back.
Are they, do we know kind of a timeline on when they're paying us back? Or is it going to be kind of at the end of the year?
No, but I think
it's like
I
2
think
or
it'll be
3
pretty
weeks.
fast.
Yeah.
Probably
Okay, if I can just interrupt there on that a little bit. It's you
Yes.
pay yourself as you've been normally doing, but when
That's correct.
when you get the subsidy of the 75%, which is up to 55,000, let's just say, and change, excuse me, it gets put into your revenue. So it's income going into your company, which then allows you to take out your payroll for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you'll have to pay corporate tax on that as well, because it's revenue coming into your company. So it gets paid to your company, not to you personally.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question there, Wendy?
Yeah, thank you.
A few other means to access the capital. There's way more than 4, but I only put a few here. If you want to get a loan, I don't know if you want to get a loan, but you can work with the BDC and they'll give you guys, will give us working capital for up to $2 million, and they're making it a lot easier. And Futurepreneur Canada, they're adding more to the budgets. And essentially, if you're a new business, if you're looking to expand your business and you're between the age of 18 and 39, you can tap into that as well. Remember that HST is deferred. So if you have any remittance, they'll be deferred until the end of June. And then any income tax deferrals, again, that's going to be extended until the end of or the beginning of September. A lot of information is on the BDC website. So if you guys are more than welcome to check that out. And lastly, so there's proposed release right now that has not been captured yet. And I was looking at Dave. He had shared this petition online. I was going through it, and I urge you guys to definitely consider signing this petition on change.org. Maybe Dave, you can share that link on our page later on. But if you guys know, because of this pandemic, insurance companies are not. You cannot make a claim for business interruption because this is a crisis that is not recognized in their policy. But, if we can make a push for insurance companies to cover some type of losses there, hopefully these type of petitions will put some pressure on the government. Again, loan deferrals, if you have any financial loans by banks or private institutions, we're definitely trying to push more deferrals on that front. Credit cards, if you do have credit cards, again, and POS fees, especially when we reopen, these are probably one of our top expenses right now. Hopefully they can help reduce some of those fees while we reopen for the next, for the rest of the year. And that's it, guys. That is it for today. Any questions?
Thank you very much, John. That was great.
I have this presentation recorded, so I know that there's a few people that wasn't able to participate. So I'm just going to go ahead and share to you guys if you guys want. Just send me an email and I can give you guys, access to that.
All right,
But
that's great.
yeah, if you guys have, the whole purpose today was to essentially to kind of, I don't know it all, to be frank, but I'm trying to keep, updated on a daily basis to help my business as well. So if I can help you guys, if you guys have any feedback for me, by all means, use a platform on Facebook to help each other.
Also,
and since we're not going to Italy this year, which is a bummer, we should do one of these.
Yes, thank you, John, so much. This has been huge for us to all just connect. Absolutely.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, if there's no other feedback,
if anybody has any policies or procedures that they've already done up and they could share those, that would be super helpful for taking one more thing off my plate before I open.
Like I said, I have a virtual human resource that I hired, a few months ago. I pay about $1,000 a month, so I definitely I'm going to utilize the crap out of it. So if you guys want, I can share those resources with you guys. So any new policies and procedure manuals, I can share it to the team. Any recalling letters you guys want, I can share that to the team as well.
I got one more thing, John, that want to talk about. Moving forward, we're all going to need gloves, masks, potentially disposable capes, neck strips. There's going to be a mad rush for these products. And for us to access them is going to be difficult. So, I mean, if there's anyone in our group that has access to these things like masks and gloves, maybe this is a good forum. We can kind of share our sources to get it, because we all know, between us, dentists, anyone that works in close proximity like we do, there's going to be a mad rush on these products.
Maybe we should, instead of our trip to Italy, since all that money they're saving, that's what Schwarzkopf almost, they might have a better angle. Listen, they have ties in China there, just with part of the Hinkle brand. I know with Band-Aids, I own a bandage company there. God knows what else they have in PPE and stuff like that. If we're able to get it through them, they have a bigger voice than us individually. So that's something maybe we should put the pressure on them to try to be, even if we're going to buy it, I don't care.
Yeah.
In order to
Just to source it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, to put in perspective, just imagine the amount of hand sanitizer your salon is going to go through in a 1 week period. So we're not talking about buying a few bottles here and there. We're talking about buying cases of this stuff. So I don't know, maybe if we can put together a list of suppliers we have access to, it's going to be important. I know it will be.
Yeah, like I already started to buy like face masks, like non-clinical face masks from Alibaba. You know, I need gloves and I need, you know.
If I could make one comment about this, this is something definitely at Ankle that we are currently looking at, different option of sourcing those kind of equipment. So as soon as we get more details, of course, you're going to be the first to be informed with this information. So we're looking at different options. Like I think you guys saw like the big visor thing, the glasses, the glove, disposable cape, also stuff like that. So we are currently again sourcing different options, and we'll keep you informed.
That's great.
That's great to hear.
Just that I thought, because I was trying to look it up. Alibaba, just he brought it up, and it sounds to Carlo too. They had these clear plastic capes throwaway, and they buy 100,000 of them. Though. You have to buy a case of 100,000.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot. It's a lot, but it's a lot for just one shop.
Yeah.
But,
well, and the good thing is that's what's positive for working for companies such as Ankle, because I'm not only talking about Schwarzkopf, Altruna here. I'm talking about all of the different brands that Ankle represents. So also we're also talking about hand sanitizer. Ankle, I mean, doesn't only do beauty professional products, but they're also in other areas such as cleaning product, hand sanitizer, and stuff like that. So again, as soon as we get more detail, we will be happy to communicate that with you.
Can we have clients, like when they come in, wash their hands instead of using hand sanitizer? Because it's like, if I'm charging more, why would I go through so much money in hand sanitizing? It's not, you know. If I charge them more, they're not going to be able to pay a higher price. So why? It's going to be a lot of money monthly on those hand sanitizers.
Well, we're going to have to incorporate that into our costs. So, I mean, you're going to have to raise our haircut prices, our color prices to reflect the safety for our clients. And I think they're going to understand that immediately.
And you're bringing a very good point, Carlo. And I was sitting on a conference call the other day from a company that has nothing to do with Ankle, but they were recommending also that some salon might consider the option of charging a COVID-19 taxes at the end of their bill. Because I mean, yes, you're going to have some extra costs now that you will have to consider in the whole package.
Yeah, I like that idea of charging an extra tax. It'd just be nice to know what percentage should we charge.
I think you'll be able to work it out once you figure out how much a mask costs, how much gloves cost.
Yeah.
You can work that out to your average of how many clients, especially if you have your POS software, your salon management systems. You can work that all out.
Even like $1.50 per service. I think that's very reasonable. You'd be surprised how much you'll collect per month. You know, over 1,000. You know, but. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up. Like I said, well, I'll have this video saved, and if you guys want access, I'll just send you guys a copy, okay?
That'd be great.
We'll continue online.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Be safe, be healthy.